for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Where's Mecky's audio? It's very low. It sounds like you're talking through a felt hat.
Okay, so try that again. Welcome, actually shouting. Welcome to Shiny Side Out with.
But it's me, Dave.
And Mecky on. We are broadcasting from Australia for Revolution Radio and Freedom.
Not better. On the front of the mic is not that's the output volume. On the back of the mic, there should be a gain control.
Gain control is the same as the front. Maximum. Coming through.
That's better. Better. Leave it.
Okay, let's try that then. Here we go.
All right, finally we've got some audio
Done.
from Mecky.
Okay, this is show. How about that? There we go. Show number 285, 580 and 200. And it's on air, online, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. If you missed Solaris' show with, in fact, today we have it here. There we go. I'll tell you who it is. It was, in fact, Kelly Kelleher. Kelly Kelleher, and they were talking about, well, you know, psychic things as well as haunted healings. A fascinating subject. Maybe we should do a... You know, we have to do a show on hauntings next. I think we should do, because I think there's some nice parallels there. Anyway, now, if you missed her show, which I hope you didn't, then you can, by simply spending $5, you can have or gain access to Freedom Slips archives, and you get all of everybody's shows, in fact, but specifically Solaris's, which is something you really should check out. She has got a book, she's got a movie, well, a documentary, I should say. Actually, several books, but the most recent one I think you should have a look at. All of the books, really, but again, the most recent one is important. And do check out her show. I highly recommend it. She's been on our show, I think, twice now. And hopefully we can welcome her back soon. Yeah, and look, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, which in my case are the Rook people, and in Dave's case, the Dark and Young people. And we pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. Okay, now, this is Listener Funnel Radio. I'm going to quickly say this, so please donate if you can, guys. We don't get paid, as you can tell by my audio. Should be okay, though, today. And there we are. Now, it's been an eventful week. We are in hurricane season, very much, I think. Meaning that all the bad things are starting to happen to people in the States, specifically Texas. I think is massively inundated. 40 inches of rain expected over the next few hours, even. Actually,
40 inches so far.
No, they said they're going to, but they say another 40 inches could fall.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, in the next few, well, I don't want to say moments, but let's call it hours or even days, which is catastrophic, really. It's not a good thing.
It's also
it was Category 4, I think, last time.
Yes, it was.
Sorry?
It's spawning tornadoes across Houston right now.
Yes, it is. So, look, we actually have a family living in Houston, so hope you guys are okay. It's been, if you follow sport, but Merriweather beat McGregor. In case you Merriweather McGregor. Yes, I am plugged in. Tell me about your week. If you're there.
My week. Oh my goodness. All right. So I've had the flu since last Sunday. It came on during the show, and then just progressively got worse. I went to the doctor, and now this is the funny thing. Firstly, the first doctor said, "Oh, do you have asthma?" I said, "No." Well, take this script and go and have a nebulizer and I'll give you 2 days off work. I said, no, I've got the flu. Like my temp's up. I'm really not feeling very well. I'm lethargic. I've got muscle aches and my throat is sore. Didn't even look at my throat or take my temperature. And then 2 days later, I'm going, this isn't getting better. So I go back and they said, you've got the flu. And I said, well, this is a different doctor. And I said, yeah, I know. I said that 2 days ago. So in Australia, the government purchased, I forget how many, like 5 million Tamiflu shots. These are shots that the government can give to the first contact people working in hospital and, the power generation and the policing and the fire and all the emergency services. Tamiflu is the last bastion for defense against a pandemic. So the doctor gives me Tamiflu to get through this. He said, this is the only thing that's working for this thing right now. And I said, look, I got a radio show and I'm just interested, is this a pandemic? Oh, we can't say that. And I said, well, can you give me some numbers that you know about? He goes, 1 in 2 people have it on the Central Coast. Half.
1 in 2.
Yeah, 1 in 2. 50% of the people on the Central Coast.
It says 1 in 1.
Yeah, there's almost 1 in 1. That's right. That's the next thing. So, my
1 in 2.
Yeah, 1 in 2. I love it, right? And he said, at the moment, between Sydney and the Central Coast, only need 200 more cases, and we beat the previous record of flu cases in the state in history. This is the most, and they wait. I've got to keep muting for coughing because it becomes uncontrollable. One second. Thank you very much for the wait. Now the it's getting better, but I'm not over it. What happens is Tamiflu without the E on the end, $2. It takes about 2 days and your symptoms pretty much go away, the symptoms. But your secondary symptoms, which is your lungs full of fluid, just doesn't go away. And my glands are still sore, but I'm able to think and get around, and I'm not sleeping in batches of like an hour anymore. So I'll tell you, Meki, this is the worst one. And 3 weeks ago, when I mentioned that I had this flu, well, I had it before. Now it's come back again 2 weeks later. Now, if this is what we're looking at the future, like the new normal, because this isn't normal. This is the new normal. I love James's show on the ABC in the afternoons. He has a segment called The New Normal, and people ring in on his show and say, what's something that's changed, but now we just expect it to be like that from now on. That's called the new normal. And people ring on about all sorts of things. Like it being, like the flowers, our trees are flowering like maybe 2 months early now from, 30 years ago, coming out of winter. So the winter time is now compressed down to a very short amount of time. And even the trees, there's some trees, deciduous trees that didn't even lose their leaves. Like it was coming into the time. Uh-oh, coffee. Those of you who watch this on YouTube will know what kind of pain I'm going through. So the trees that, their leaves start to turn, but they never fall off. And then now they're starting to bloom now. And the trees didn't lose their leaves. So this is all the kinds of things we're looking at. And if you're talking about global warming, I posted a couple of things this week, Meki, on global warming, and I'll bring this right around in a circle in a second. That some person who's a friend of mine on Facebook is tying every single event on the planet to Nibiru. Every single thing. And it doesn't even matter what it is. Oh yeah, there's a cloud in the sky, that's Nibiru. Oh, there's a storm, that's Nibiru. There is flu pandemic, that's Nibiru.
I don't understand your point. That's all true. It's all very true.
It's all true. Yeah, completely. And so I had a new friend of mine on a Facebook, and he's saying, do you believe all this Nibiru stuff? And I said, look, the book's not closed. I can't confirm or deny whether Nibiru is real or not, given the Sumerian text described it, and everything about their text has been correct so far. So, grain of salt or not? I don't think so. I think we to wait and see. I've parked it, right? But as far as it connecting to all these things that are going on, I really don't think so. So, you know, earthquakes and everything. Now, Meki, the funniest thing about this is, you know how I talk about the super caldera? Yellowstone.
Yes, you do.
Have
you talk
heard,
about it a lot.
I do. And I'm going to say it right here, right now. NASA has decided that they can solve this Yellowstone problem.
I know, shoot it into the sun. Take Yellowstone and shoot it into the sun.
There you go. I like that idea so far. Let's run with that one. How are we going to get it there, sir? I don't know. What they've decided to do is drill holes in the mountain to release the magma. Because that can't go wrong, right?
Oh no, it's fraught with plausibility.
They say, see, if we can. Oh.
What?
Kill me now.
Coughing, I guess. There was some coughing there. All right, jeez.
All right,
have a drink of water.
I'm drinking water. Oh, hang on. No, that's not water. So NASA is suggesting that they can drill holes in the mountains around Yellowstone and evacuate the heat away from it. See, without the heat and without the magma pressure, everything should be perfect. All right, so yes. Tampering with a balloon isn't never going to make it pop, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I don't know. Like, they're the best scientists. I don't care who you are, but I really don't think that we should be. You know, I don't think we should attempt anything until they can make it a provable science. Theoretical science, yeah. Look, I believe your theory. It sounds great. But you know what? We could just stick some huge pieces of metal down in there that's, you know, go up to the sky and use them as heat sinks. That'll do the same thing. Why don't we do that? Or, you know, if you're China, you could just, like, I don't know, drop like a bunker buster into that thing. Huge one, the biggest one you got, drop it into there, and that should make that problem go away, straight away. I don't think we'll see any more Yellowstone issue for like another 250,000 years.
No, we should take the Star Trek approach. You know what Star Trek did? They actually dropped a freeze bomb into this volcano which was about to destroy this planet. And they dropped a freeze bomb. So somebody out there go and invent the freeze bomb, and then we drop it in. Boom, done. I like it. See, it's either going into the sun or we get a freeze bomb. I mean, the details are your problem, Dave. You have to work on the details. I'm just a big ideas guy.
That's what you are.
But sorry. Just one, I have to say this. You know, I'm being facetious here, but the truth is this: all the C-level guys out there, that's exactly how they talk and that's exactly how they think. They have all these big ideas, right? And then, we need time travel, to increase our profit margins.
Time travel.
Make it so.
You're like Denim from the IT Crowd, the big boss. We're going to war.
I need you
against stress.
Yes. I need you to download the internet and then fax it to me in 4 colors. That's what you need to do.
No, 3 colors. Only 3.
3 colors. Oh, okay, I'll make it easy for you. 3 colors. Just fax it tomorrow. Okay, guys, look. This is what it is. There is a lot of stuff going on, and Dave quite rightly pointed out. I mean, these are all bad ideas. They're bad ideas. I watched this musical. I think it was called Q Street. Q Street, is that a thing?
Avenue Q.
Avenue Q. That's it. It's like a Sesame Street. No, it wasn't.
Don't say the words, Mickey.
Sorry.
Don't say the thing that they're closely related to.
No, I won't. but I won't. I didn't. What? Sesame who? It's clearly it's wheat. It's buckwheat street. Buckwheat Street.
Buckwheat Street.
No, and in that musical there's a group of creatures called the Bad Idea Bears. Bad Idea Bears. So every bad idea that comes along, yeah, they have a song about it. And they go ahead and foster their bad ideas on us. I'm thinking there must be bad idea bears running riot in the American government. Yeah. Hey, let's drill into a volcano, release the magma. It's like Smithers, release the hounds. No, release the magma.
The Burns Slant Drilling Company. That's what we need right now.
But do these people actually listen to what they're saying? They should have this. You know, it should be mandatory. If you're in government or working for the government, everything you say has to be recorded. And half an hour after you say it, you have to listen to it. That has to be like mandatory.
Oh,
I can't believe I said. How was that? That's a good idea, right? That's a good idea.
I love that idea. Of course, it's already gone. It's already gone public. That's really funny.
Right.
But I mean, look, the scientists. When have they ever been wrong? So in Australia, the cane toad, the best thing that's ever happened to this country. Why? I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. Because the introduction to this. The theory around the cane toad, I mean, the ugliest frog kind of toady thing you've ever seen. It's even poisonous, right? And it secretes.
Don't lick it. Don't lick it.
Don't. Yeah. It secretes. Like it looks like, I don't know, Savlon or like a skin paste that ladies might apply to themselves, but don't touch this stuff. It's poisonous. So that it excretes that just by touch. You don't even have to touch the darn thing, and it starts to ooze this stuff out behind its ears, like where its ear holes are. All right, but that's not bad enough. It humps everything. It'll hump a goldfish in your pond. It's awful, right? This thing. Now, what's worse is the introduction of this. The whole theory was, well, we have these cane beetles, you see, growing on the sugar cane, and that's destroying our livelihood here as farmers. So let's bring something in from somewhere else. And, scientists, can you tell us what we can, is there a bird or something we can get? Oh, no, we found a cane toad. All right. Why is it called a cane toad? No, it's called something else. But, sure, let's call it a cane toad. Right. So they bring these things in. Now, the beetles, just by their very nature about what they do to the cane, is they inject the cane with their proboscis and drink out the syrup. But they don't do that on the ground level because, that's too old. Only the new cane growth at the top of the plant. However, the cane toads can't climb. They cannot climb. So only the hapless beetle who falls off of its own accord, drunk with the cane syrup, will get consumed by the cane beetle, right? However, the cane beetles lived on only to end up, I don't think they used DDT on them or something, some other hideous chemical, because that's another good thing for science. And the cane toads went rampant. They're down as far as Newcastle and almost round into Western Australia at the top end. That's like, 7,000 kilometers now.
I know. Oh, yeah. Let's screw some more with nature. I think what we need to eat those cane toads are alligators. We're gonna import some alligators, but they have to be special. They're going to be genetically modified alligators. We're going to put some laser beams in their eyes. We're going to have alligators with laser beams. And then when that doesn't work, okay, now we have to get rid of the alligators. We get some land sharks. Right? And they're gonna have like special teeth, like diamond razor teeth, and they're gonna have some I don't know, probably like a minigun strapped to their sides. That won't work either. Okay, so what can eat the land shark? Land shark is pretty okay. You know what? We're gonna drill into some amber. And we're gonna get some blood from a mosquito, and we're gonna clone a dinosaur, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and we're gonna release those in Australia. don't have to modify them. They're going to eat everything. And I think that's going to be one of our problems, my friend. Huh? Up here for thinking, buddy. Up here for thinking.
I know, right? But, you know, the company that is releasing all these is going to cost millions. Meki, you know what I mean, right? Millions.
I know.
So at the moment, we have the fire ants now that have come into Australia. And, you know, we thought we were doing pretty good, but, you know, we couldn't stop them. And now the last opportunity, I think, was in October last year, that we had them surrounded, but the government wouldn't spend any money on it. So now they've outside of that containment line, and good luck to you. And if you live anywhere where there's fire ants, you know what we're talking about. So if the country wasn't bad enough, you know, with all the other things that kill you, now we've just introduced 2 new species that kill you. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Surely, maybe, Meki, maybe in this history of human evolution, maybe this is why there's so many damned dangerous creatures in this country. Because of all the other solutions they were trying to fix. Maybe that's what it's all about. You know, I just want to say, talking about danger, how's this for segue? North Korea tested another missile. Remember how that, if you test another missile, we're going to, you know, fire and fury? What happened to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I stayed up all night. I stayed up all night with my hand on the record button ready to go because this was the World War III thing, right? What happened? Nothing. What a fizzer. It's like cracker night in the olden days when you would, you know, you'd spend all your pocket money on crackers when they were legal. And you go to light the cracker and the wick goes psst, and just fizzles out right at where it goes in. What can you do with that now? Nothing. It's a waste. Right? What a disappointment. Yep. All your friends, you know, like, what happened? I don't know. Where's the boom? Where's the boom? There's meant to be an earth-shattering kaboom. The earth creature took my dilithium Q space modulator. So it's one of those things. All the talk it up, and we've got nothing. Yep. Maybe we'll get some more action out of China, because China claims victory now. They've claimed in their media, they claimed victory in the South China Sea about the freedom of movement thing. They shoot away a US vessel, and they're like, yeah, all their media's, you know, we're winning in this fight about, you know, of our sovereignty and what? You're winning. See, when you listen to the US media, they're like, yeah, we just sailed on through. Awesome, right? Now, Australia, we adhere to the freedom of movement in shipping. Within, I think the border is, how many, 12 miles or whatever of the coastlines. You should be able to sail your ships around, no dramas. However, now China has deployed submarine detectors throughout their South China Sea. So just in case there was an encroachment onto any of their sovereign waters around their newly formed islands, which is still a disputed zone, that they'll be able to know. Because that to me sounds like they've seen a couple of subs. Coughing. So it's really, really something to watch. I mean, you keep your eyes on this one, I think. The rhetoric has all been about South Korea, no, North Korea, not South Korea. What's Samsung? What's wrong with Samsung? However, I think we're really staring down the barrel of something bigger. Now, I saw also that China and Russia had made an agreement with, was it a gas field or a petroleum deal, oil deal, recently in the last week. So you can see where the partnerships are aligning themselves. I know that America told Australia, be careful of China and your business dealings with them. That's an unusual love triangle, isn't it? Because of where we are on the planet, who else are we going to deal with?
So, there are no political divides, my friends. There's only money, and more money, and keeping the money, and not giving you any of it. I think. Well, there is. I mean, there's no the truth is there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. And in the book 1984, it was put very nicely, right? We're fighting Eurasia or whatever. Oh, no, they were our friends yesterday. No, you're wrong. They're always enemy. No, they were our friends yesterday. Shut up, you. And that's exactly the world we're living in. There's no good or... It is. But look, Afghanistan, who built the Mujahideen up against the Russians? United States, CIA, right? And there's a whole show cycle there by itself. And then, okay, well, who supported the communists in Russia in the Bolshevik Revolution that brought down the Tsarist Empire? Guess who? Germany. Yeah, that's right. Germany. Because it was about winning, sort of eliminating one of the enemies in World War One. So, no, I'm sorry. It's a lot more complex, and there's a lot more going on than we can see. And, oh, look over here. There's North Korea. Oh, look over here. South Korea. What's happening here? Oh, what happened? How come we're talking to these people now? What's happening? I don't understand what's going on anymore. And you could be excused for thinking that, the world has gone insane, or that you've gone insane. But look, the truth is the world is insane. You're okay. You're actually okay, right? It's the world that is completely insane. On that...
Hey, Mekki,
go on.
Wait. Yeah. My last point is really easy. I lost 5 chooks last night. To foxes.
Geez, what happened?
To foxes. So
you got this cage thing happening, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a full chicken run. It's made of hardwood and it's got chicken wire, but the foxes ate through the chicken wire. Ate through it, and they took 5 chooks out. 1 was killed and left inside the run. 2 of the carcasses I found completely without heads or necks, completely gone. They chewed the whole lot off and ate the head and everything, left the body of 2 of them, and there's still 2 that I couldn't find.
Huh.
And the chooks had just gone back onto the lay again, and after winter, and now we've got to get some more chooks. But we still have 2 left, and I've sort of fixed it now, so I've got some roofing material around ground level, so they're not going to, hopefully not going to get in.
Is it feasible to electrify your chicken run? Is that a possibility or not? Not really.
Well, it's okay. I could get a 50 cal sniper rifle and take them out too. I won't sleep very much. I'd really like that. That would be my favorite. Dude,
no. You don't understand. Get lions. Okay, get
lions. I see. We got to upscale it.
You release some lions to get the foxes. That's what you're gonna do. Like 4 or 5 lions should do the trick. Just out there in the wild. Let them run free. They'll propagate. They'll find their own way into the ecosystem. I can't see an issue with it. I think it'll be fine. I think the ecosystem can handle it, right?
We don't have that many ground-dwelling things, right? Because lions don't jump. Yeah, okay. So I was thinking cheetahs. Maybe some cheetahs.
Cheetahs, okay, but I like lions. But that's me, right? So maybe a tiger. So I'm sorry to hear about your chickens, dude. But I visited Dave not too long ago, and he did have some very nice chickens there in his run. Healthy looking birds. So I can see why the foxes wanted to eat them. Wow,
there were a couple of kilos. There were a couple of kilos each. The carcasses when I was having to deal with their dead bodies. But you know what? I'm not going to eat them. They all had names, and I feel so sorry for them. And their bodies were definitely cold this morning, and it was awful. Just awful. And the kids, my kids were devastated over it. But, whoever the smart person was that decided that from England, of course, when they first colonised Australia, that foxes would be great. See, what we'll do, we'll bring them for the fox hunt. Yeah. So, Jeeves, could you go and release the fox? Sir, it's run away, sir. Well, just get another darn one, blinking one, wouldn't you? So anyway, so the foxes got out, all the rabbits got out, so now we have rabbits and foxes. And you think that's going to be a self-balancing thing too, because, you know, the fox is going to eat some rabbits. But no, the foxes like all the other things in Australia and don't really touch the rabbits. And now the rabbits, are so many rabbits that people in like, say, in North Sydney going up to Hornsby have had their foundations collapse on their house because the rabbit burrows under their house. There's so many of them. I know.
Yeah, nature, right? Oh,
yeah, that's
man,
right. It's a balance. It's a balance. House versus rabbit. Rabbit wins. And what's really funny is the school grounds where the ovals are. And when I drive to work, only a couple of k's away, I get to the top of the hill, and it's just rabbits everywhere. You go across the road, and one just darts right across. And they're only these little tiny things with that little tiny triangle tail too. They're so cute. But they're wild. I know there's a really good food source, Mekki, should the end of the world come. There's rabbits everywhere.
Oh no! Look, but that's the thing. I mean, you're right. That is true. I'm in a not in a similar position, but we've got a duck pond with easily 100 or 150 ducks in it.
Nice.
3 geese, 4 water hens, but hundreds of ducks.
Awesome.
Right now, look, and there are eels in there that are bigger than my leg. I mean, they're massive eels. So if worst came to worst, I can always go to that pond and survive for a little while at least. Now, sorry, I did have a point about insanity though.
Oh no! Please
which
take
is
the
all
floor,
insane.
Mekki.
No. Just the insane bit. I've done some research this week in relation to our show topic, which is in fact human or timelines, as they refer to the human evolution, or if you want to call it that. And I thought to myself, because I made a point last week, and don't hate me for saying it, but I was thinking, well, maybe we're not all Homo sapiens. And then I looked at Homo sapiens, and our cranial capacity, the average, is between 950 and 1800 cubic centimeters.
That's right.
Okay. Now I'm not talking about children and adults. I'm talking about adults. That is a bigger delta than between us and another species of human. Okay, let's be clear. So within our human family of people, the skull volume varies more than it does when you compare us to Neanderthal or Homo heidelbergensis or Homo augusta or whoever. There's a greater variation within our own species. So then I said, okay, well, what are the identifying characteristics of Homo sapiens? I mean, what makes Homo sapiens Homo sapiens? So I started looking into it, and I'll be honest with you, I was not coming across a lot. I mean, there's some general sites which give you this, that, and the other. I wanted some very specific. Very specific. And I didn't find it. I wanted skull comparisons between ourselves, between different peoples on the planet. Those sites didn't exist. I sent the links to Dave. I think there are 3 or 4 sites which simply don't exist anymore.
They're gone.
Gone. Where they had skull comparisons between ourselves, like Asian, European, African skulls and so forth. So I put it out there, guys, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. That's okay. I'm not making a value judgment when I say this. I'm just saying, is it possible that we are not all Homo sapiens, as it's defined, or Homo sapiens sapiens, as it is now, the very wise ape, as it is now postulated? Is it possible that someone else or some others have survived up to this point? Yeah, I mean, Neanderthal, well, probably not pure strain Neanderthal, but we do know there are a number of different human, let's call them human species that have been with us until very recently. Okay, and in the last even 10, 12,000 years, 15,000 years, if you want to stretch a bit further, where we shared this planet with a number of different species, like us, which we could interbreed with. Now, and again, I think about this as well. The difference between us and a chimpanzee is 1%. give or take, which is about, Dave, you said about 35 million base pairs?
Yeah, so 1.1, it is 35 million base pairs, and it is 1.2% difference.
Yes, no, you're right, Gyro. I love the word Homo sapiens. But okay, so now the difference between us and Neanderthal and Homo ergaster and so forth is less than that. It has to be less than that because they're more like us, right? Mm-hmm. So then my question is, and I haven't been able to find it. Maybe I haven't looked hard enough, but I didn't focus all my research on that. What is the relative, or what is the average difference between us as a species, between human beings? Is it 99.99 similar, 99.999? Is there like 0.1% difference? What is the difference between amongst ourselves? Because I mean, some of us, we look quite different from each other. So I want to know what the difference is. This is really what's eating at me now, because it doesn't make sense. I look at this. Do you understand what I'm saying, Dave? Like just the skull volume itself, it fluctuates between 950 and 1800 cubic centimeters. That's astounding. That's a lot. Go on.
I have to interject, and I think, in support of what you're saying, I have to suggest that might be a direct. It might be a genetic thing because of the quantity of one of the other Homo species that we have DNA in as a mix. If we have 22% this, 48% that, and Homo sapien is 60%. If those other two percentages vary too greatly, favoring one or another, it might have been Florensis, or it might have been Australopithecus, right? It might have been one of those others that's determining the cranial size, because we know that, for instance, Neanderthal had a greater cranial capacity than the modern humans. So if you mix those percentages together, like you've, say, taken a DNA test at Ancestry.com and it tells you have, this many percent of Neanderthal, maybe there's a correlation between that and your cranium size. Coughing. Oh, you know what? I'm so sick of coughing. Please kill me. Becky, I want to bring a point out here, and that is when we spoke to Lloyd Pye, fantastic researcher, tremendous gentleman, and he tried through all of his research and all of the, doing what we do, jump up and down and wave your arms about and state a fact. And one of those things that he told us on air was the great apes and the hominids up until Homo sapiens, all of them going back in time, they had 48 chromosomes, which is 24 pairs. Okay, remember that. 48 chromosomes.
Yep.
Humans have 46, which is 23 pairs. So all of the pre-human species of hominoids all had 48 chromosomes, or 24 pairs. It's only humans that have the 23 pairs, or 46 chromosomes. Now, how did that happen? There's a lot of debate about that, about how that occurred. But if we stick to that difference, that's a pretty big difference. That difference itself can prevent successful mating. That difference is sufficient, like chimpanzees and dogs. I'm just making it up, right? Interspecies. That's enough difference. When every human on the planet that we consider humans today, before the DNA genome project, everyone was considered so alike that the word race should be deleted. That we're actually more similar than dog species are. Dog species are more different than we are as humans different. Does that make sense? I just want to point that out. So whether it's a large dog, a small dog, small nose, big nose dog, right? Whether it's got long woolly hair, or it's short furred, or it has no fur, or it's from, you know, one of those little tiny dogs from Mexico, right? Like the Taco Bell dog. Or it's a Great Dane, or a Saint Bernard, or it's a poodle. Those dogs have more difference than all of the humans on the planet do amongst ourselves. We have less difference. So that the word race had to come up just because, you know, we have different features of exactly the same look. We have different features of skin color or hair color, or, you know, just call it pigment. That's pretty much it. It's not like Star Trek, where someone will have, you know, more ridges on their nose, or they have a bumpy forehead, or, you know, their ears are pointed, or... Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those things differentiate them as a species, where we're one species. We are so alike, it isn't funny. And we're less different amongst all of us. And of course, the Human Genome Project proved all of that. And even isolated, you know, isolates, or, you know, as people from the original culture who have only bred with people from the original culture of, say, like the South American people in the hills, their DNA was alike ours. They're all alike. We have a common mother. So if we have a common mother, we can just consider everyone our relatives. And that's why I think the word race should be deleted. Right? So we're going back before that common mother. The Meki, right? In what we're talking about on show 285, a timeline of human evolution, history, technology, and the fates of human societies.
Yeah. Look, that's right. I mean, the thing is this, though, right? And we'll go into what mitochondrial leaf and chromosomal, Y chromosomal Adam actually mean. Get some definitions for you guys. But Dave is right. So the differences between us are small. Having said that, I'm still not convinced we're all part of the same species. That's just me, right? And the Human Genome Project has not cataloged everybody everywhere. And I'm not sure that we've seen all of the research either. If look, let's say for argument's sake, I'm not saying this is what it is, but let's say they found, oh, gee, that population group has got 20% Neanderthal, whereas everybody else only has 1%, for example, right? Then would that be something they would publish? Probably not. And I'll tell you why. Because then there might be some kind of discrimination happening. Because we haven't really grown up as people. We're not you know, we're not mature as a species. We're not. And then Dave, you're right. They have kept some of the findings hidden, right? But what did they find? Did they find exactly that? Did they find that we're not, in fact, all the same? I would say yes. I would say we're not all the same. I mean, you just walk out in the street. If you live in a major city, if you live in New York City, in LA, and Sydney, and Hong Kong, and Singapore, I don't care where you live, like a big major city where you've got, you know, 100 different people, you know, when I'm talking about, you know, from a racial point of view, all living together, and you look around, look at what people look like. Just have a look and see. There are massive differences between us. People talk about average height, this and that. There's the average human height. I mean, we've got really short people, and we've got really tall people, right? And is it 5'10", 5'11"? Yeah, is that the average height? I don't know. But the point is, unless all the findings are made available in the Genome Project, and unless we test not every person, but certainly every regional subgroup, that exists, we can't make any statements around our genetic heritage. And I'm convinced, like I said, I'm convinced that not all of us are exactly the same. We're not all the same. We're not. Full stop. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we found DNA that we couldn't identify at all in some of us. Isolated population groups. Who knows, right? I would like to test the Basque population as well. You know, and I'd like to test the Ainu, the original inhabitants of Japan, so such as they still exist. I'd like to test the Aborigines in Australia. Right? I'd like to see what that looks like compared to like a West European gene. Okay, because again, there are excuse me, significant physical differences. No, I cough as well. Significant physical differences between us. Okay, I'm not talking about someone is better or worse than anyone else. I'm not talking about someone has better cognitive abilities than the next person. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, I would probably wager that if you look at some of our ancestors, they probably had better cognitive abilities than us. In fact, Dave, sorry, I just had a. Did you see the light bulb?
Yeah, I saw the light bulb.
You did. Okay, good. Look at our past. Look at the last 20, 100,000 years. Look at the monuments we cannot explain. We would never build like this. We would not. We would not build like that. We would not move 1,000-ton stones because it's stupid, right? It just doesn't make any sense. However, someone did. Someone did. And I'm not saying it has to be aliens. I mean, sure, that's a possibility. I'm not saying it is, though. But what if it was another species of human that thought differently and had different capabilities and a different outlook on life? Why not? Because clearly someone did it. It is there. You can go and touch it. It was built. So that's not the question. The question is why and who, right? And to some extent, how, right? But certainly why? Why would you do that? It makes no sense. And if you look down at our ancestors, as it were, some of them may have been a lot stronger. Neanderthal is thought to have been a lot stronger. Mm-hmm. Their average brain capacity, from what we can tell, we found a lot of them, by the way. We found a lot of Neanderthal bones and skulls. Their cranial variation, or capacity, I should say, their brain capacity varies a lot less than ours, and was in fact higher than ours. So they were between 1,200 and 1,900 cubic centimeters. 1,200 and 1,900. That's about it's about 2 quarts, right? It's about 2 quarts. So it's like a half a gallon worth of brain, whereas we are 950 between 1,800. That's from 1 quart to half a gallon there of brain for you. So the variation is much smaller, or was much smaller, in that particular species or subspecies of Homo sapiens. Okay, so again, so that was what I was thinking I was doing this week. And if anybody has got any good information on where I can find really good definitions and skull comparisons, and that tell me what makes a Homo sapiens a Homo sapiens, that'd be awesome. Because so far I've only found a lot of general things. I want to have very specific things, especially when it comes to skeletal structure and somatypes. That's what I'm interested in. If you guys have that information, that's listenership out there. I mean, I'm talking at you now. I'm talking at you. Please, if you know something, send me the links and let me know, because I really, really want to know. I really want to know. Now, having said that, we don't have too much longer till we hit the end of the first hour. But Dave, this is really important stuff, though, don't you think? I mean, this is stuff that we need to know. I mean, we because this is one of the, we talk about assumptions, Dave and I. We talk a lot about assumptions. We talk about all these preconceived ideas we have. What if this is just another one of those? We're all Homo sapiens. No, you're not. Maybe that's just another assumption that we're working under, right? We just, you're all Homo sapiens. Yeah, sure. But maybe we're not. Maybe we're not. I mean, I travel a lot. I do travel a lot, like in the world. I see a lot of different people, and people, people are people wherever you go. So it doesn't. I don't think it mattered if you're a Neanderthal or Homo erectus or whatever. People are people, basically. But there are massive differences within us, and it's only a small percentage, I guess, from a genetic point of view. But still, we are quite different within our race. and people like to dismiss that. I also see a lot of similarities between peoples. You know, I can actually see now how people might have moved along. Yeah, like into how did people get into Australia? Did they actually did life, or did Homo sapiens originate from Australia? As one of the points, one of the flashpoints, possibly. But you can see the groupings of people around the world and where they are and how they look. It is fascinating. It really is. I think I told you this, Dave. I saw this Asian couple in front of the Opera House, and they had European hair and European skin, European like German skin, German hair, but Asian features. And I was like, for a moment, I thought, oh, I must have shifted universes, right? Because this is something I hadn't seen before. Clearly, these are probably Asian people that are somewhere from, I would say, maybe the Kamchatka area or somewhere, you know, like which have mixed with Russian people. I mean, who knows? But there I was looking at German complexion with German hair and Asian features. It was quite, to me, it was quite astounding because I'd never seen it before. Right? Clearly, it's a very common feature elsewhere in the world. So, but yeah, so these are the important things, Dave, right? I mean, this is why we have this show. This is really why we're asking these questions.
You know, Mekki, I traveled also, and there's something else that I found very unusual, and that is I found copies of people. So sometimes you might find, you know, they call it a doppelganger. You might find someone near or, you know, in around your area, wherever you live, that looks like someone else, or it looks like you. I know that I've got one that was living in Sydney that is so similar to me that I was, you know, became in trouble with my friends for not talking to them. But it wasn't me that was there, it was this other fellow. And we dressed similar. It was like we're clones. I can't explain it any other way. But when I went to America, I saw exact copies of people that I knew very well here. I mean, exactly. It was like they'd followed me in a plane and then decided not to talk to me or pretended to be a different person. It was just that eerie. And I became friends with them. And I found that, you know, they were slightly different here and there, but that just could have been the nurturing component, because nature versus nurture. So what affected their personality? Their personality traits were quite similar, but I couldn't, I didn't study them, and I didn't make a chart, and I didn't do it from a scientific point of view. But anecdotally, they were the same person, and I've seen that a lot. Now, I figured that at some point there would have been only that many combinations of, you know, facial features, so that the likelihood of seeing another copy of you is likely. It is likely to see it. There's millions. Well, there's 7.7 billion people, and you're sure to see a copy of you. But it just seemed like that was too good. The probability was too low that that I would happen to see them. Imagine that they could be spread anywhere. It could be anywhere. They could just be where I'm not. But I happened to see them. I thought that, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I've seen more than one. So I figured that either there's a cloning program on, or a breeding program on that I'm unaware of, or there's something else.
Well, it actually raises an interesting point, because I've had similar experiences where you come across people that are almost a spitting image of someone else. Yep. In fact, I was sitting next to someone in a workshop maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, who could have been Quentin Tarantino's twin brother.
Wow.
Even down to the way he spoke, the way his face moved. It was uncanny. I thought, is this some kind of joke? But again, it's then does it raise the question of a limited blueprint? But what do I mean by that? Are there only so many blueprints we have for the combination of our features and genes and so forth? So, you know, I mean, there's now 7.5 billion of us, let's call it, right? It's quite a lot. There's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. And would you not think that at some point you just simply run out of I don't know, out of templates. You run out of differences. So some will repeat. Now, if we lived on a planet of 1 billion people or 500 million, I guess, Dave, there would be a lot less doppelgangers, right? It's my opinion. Mm-hmm. But since we're living on a planet of 7.5 billion, I think there should be a lot more doppelgangers and people that look very similar to some other people. In fact, the more of us there will be as we go forward, the more doppelgangers there will be, I think, as well. Now, I'll give you a simple example. Look at ants. Ants, right? Ants have probably as much genetic variation amongst themselves as we do within our species. And if we look at an ant, every ant to us looks exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Except it doesn't. It doesn't. It does not look exactly the same. Not even, not even to us. If we look really closely, if you magnify it, like 1 million times or whatever, you will see very distinct differences. But you will also come across ants that are almost identical, right? Because there's so many of them. The same blueprint, will repeat itself. It has to. It's just a numbers game at that point, right? Because, we are limited. We got a nose, we got 2 eyes, we got a mouth, we got ears, right? And our basic structures is very limiting when it comes to variation. Might be differences in height, sure enough, but everything else might be exactly the same. So it's interesting how you notice that, Dave. And you know what? Maybe there's a secret cloning program as well. Maybe there's a secret cloning program. Who knows? Well,
that was that was the thing that got me thinking about the cloning secret breeding program by seeing so many of the doppelgangers.
Yeah. And why not? It's possible.
Yeah.
And maybe some forms or some shapes or some blueprints are more successful than others. Now, talking about biology just for a second, there are several million of your essences that that move toward the egg of the female. Yeah, there's like millions of you little guys swimming around trying to millions, but only a few make it through, or one, but sometimes more than one, but usually just the one that makes it through. Now, is it possible that one had that winning blueprint? You'd think all be the same, but they're not. Because none of your children, unless they're twins, look the same. Like if you have children with your wife, like the same wife, the same father, same mother, none of your children will look the same. Alike, yes, but not the same. Even though it's the same ingredients. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Return you to your host.
I've unmuted myself. Yes, thank you. You're back with Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out on freedomslips.com on the #1 listener-supported talk radio on the net. So push the donate button or subscribe to the archives like I do for only $5 a month, and that's the cost of a cup of coffee. I'd like to say hello to all the new listeners we have here today. Anyone who's joined us this week, if you're watching this on YouTube, post-show, it's not live on YouTube, please do like and subscribe to us to get up-to-date information if you can. Also, write comments. Agree or disagree, and tell us your info. If you have anything that you'd like to maybe ask us to research, you can email us just find that on shinysideout.net. You can contact either one of us directly by the webpage there. We're glad you're on board, and we hope to make your transition from wherever it was you came from, that home, shops and work triangle, to where we are. We will do it gently and help you transition across and get over onto this side of the fence. You know what? We're halfway through show number 285, and as Meki says, that is
580 and 200.
Awesome. Now, quickly, you've seen me hold my mug up. I hold my mug up at the top of the show, and I want to let you know that you can buy this mug. Like, I'm not teasing you with this mug. This mug is awesome. This is a 20-ounce mug, and I have a lovely triple coffee in here. I like my coffee. I wish I had a percolator so I could just, continue drinking coffee all day. However, you can probably hear from the speed of my amblings here that I've had a triple coffee. This is a dual-branded Shiny Side Out, freedomsips.com, Dave and Meki mug. Get yourself one, and the link, you'll see it in the YouTube anyway. It's go to Zazzle.com and look for Shiny Side Out, and you can find some merchandise there. The Hanes,
and we've sold exactly none,
except for what we've sent out promotionally. So, coughing.
Yes.
So if you can, jump in there. I think we make like $1 off it or something. Look, I know these are a little more expensive than you would normally find a normal mug for, but this is pretty good if it's winter time for soup or coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is. If you could drink this much vodka, send me an email. All right, because I'd like to know. Just curious. Do you know what? So you can go to the website at freedomsips.com, and you can get a CD of your favourite host shows for the previous year. There's a whole bunch of different things you can get. You can even get an EMP-proof thumb drive, a USB stick, but it's made of metal, and it fully encases in metal, so it'll still survive if, North Korea decides to EMP or Russia decides to EMP the US. Your USB stick will work, but nothing else. Forget it. Nothing else is going to work unless your computer is inside a metal garbage can or a trash can. There won't be any power anyway, so you'll be able to power it up unless you've got solar, so you need to have solar, but that'll be cooked as well because of the EMP, so good luck with that. But still get one anyway. It's got survival documents that you can read and print out.
You're really selling it.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm dying here. So you can print all the survival documents out anyway, or get yourself, and this is a really good one, you can get 75,000 seeds in a seed pack, and they're refrigeratable, and when the time comes you can use those to kickstart the new society in your community and keep everyone fed.
Why survive? You're gonna be eaten by zombie cannibals anyway. Why survive?
What's that? There was a song, when they drop the demon seed, I'm gonna turn and face into the wind so I can breathe it in. Look, if you're the kind of person that's a survivalist who wants to live through this, and I've got a lot of friends, Meki, and I'm going to be honest with you right now, I've got a lot of friends who decided a long time ago that they're not going to bother. Why bother living through it? I mean, life's going to be hell, isn't it? I said, yeah, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna do something. I'm like, do you remember that? We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it, Meki. You know that the guy with the spoon who's gonna dig an underground world in what's that thing where the Martians come? War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. That's the one.
So the guy who has a dream is gonna dig a brand new society underground. We're gonna live underground. Yeah. That's me right now. Just blame the medication. So, follow the instructions carefully when you're donating through the website on freedomsips.com to make sure that you're able to get what you can into your country. The customs agencies, you also need to understand how can you import seeds into your country. We can't, sadly. But if you're in the US, the number call in is 347-688-2902, or you can add Skype. If you have Skype, you can add Freedom Screen to it. That's Freedom Screen with an N at the end. If you live in Kentucky, you can listen to us. You're lucky in Kentucky. WZZR 101.3. I just like saying that. Or anywhere else in the world, there's an app for it. So you want to try and find Revolution Radio Studio A. And you can look for that on, say, TuneIn.com, Web Radio Central, Receiver mobile app, Freedom Sips Mobile. They've got their own mobile app. There's a bunch of others. but we've got our own app as well. So Shiny Side Out. You can find that on Apple and Android platforms. That's it. That's it for the promo. Meki, I'd love us to start digging into these show notes, because you know what? We've got 28 pages still, of these show notes. We're only at page 9.
Yeah, no, you're right. So look, okay, let's jump right in. This is a timeline of human evolution, history, and technology, and so forth, and it's really good. I did a lot of searching, and this was one of the best I could find. We'll take a couple each, and then we'll see how we go with that. So now all dates are BP, which means before present. Okay, before present, unless otherwise noted, and we won't get into the whole before Christ and AD. I don't think in this particular segment. 250 million to present. A regular 26 to 34 million year cycle of catastrophe for the solar system may be in effect. We've discussed this. So there seem to be regular extinction level events. And I'm glad that this timeline is in fact making us aware of this. So that's something to definitely consider. 65 million years ago, asteroid impact that may not have killed the dinosaurs. I think I can see why I like this timeline. 13 million years ago, the last common ancestor of all apes, including humans. A specimen of tree-dwelling Pierolapithecus catalanicus was discovered in Spain, Dave.
Lucky you took that one. 5.5 million years ago, unknown last common ancestor of humans and chimpanzees. 4 million years ago, first bipedal human ancestor. Bipedalism appears suddenly in the fossil record. Could be Ardipithecus ramidus, a hominid that lived in the wooded grasslands of the Horn of Africa. 1.8 million to about 100,000 years ago, Homo erectus in Africa, Asia, and Indonesia, and possibly Europe. First use of crude stone tools, and may have harnessed naturally occurring fire. You know, like when lightning strikes and, possibly near volcanic eruptions. 1.5, what's MYR, Meki, in this one?
A million years.
Oh, okay. From the last show, that was a week ago, and a whole virus ago too. 1.5 million years ago, Swartkrans, South Africa. Genetic studies indicate modern humans are not descended from Homo erectus, which appears as an evolutionary side branch and dead end. Becky.
340,000 years ago, the Geminga supernova, which was about 300 light years away. 250,000 years ago, genetic Eve, or the mitochondrial Eve, which we're going to talk about in a little while, the most recent common female ancestor of all living humans from mitochondrial DNA dating. The mtDNA, or mitochondrial DNA, from Eve merely acts as a tracer that links all present-day humans to a single population of ancient humans who lived in Africa. Now, again, it's tracing us to a single population, right? Like a bottleneck event, potentially. 150,000 to 30,000 years ago, archaic Homo sapiens, otherwise known as Neanderthals, appear in the fossil record, distinct from earlier proto-humans. They occupied Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. They differ from modern humans, Homo sapiens, in skeletal details, and I want to know what those are, and behavior. Recent genetic studies also indicate that modern humans are not descended from Neanderthals, but rather coexistent. They used crude stone tools and may have harnessed naturally occurring fire. They buried their dead and cared for their sick. Apparently, hands could not grip complicated tools, preventing them from engaging in finer motor skills, such as carving and painting. Cultural sharing between Neanderthals and modern humans, or Homo erectus, during the time of the overlap, in my opinion, is quite likely, Dave.
150 to 60,000 years ago, modern humans appear, sometimes called Homo sapiens sapiens, originally in Africa, probably East Africa. Same stone tools as Neanderthals. No art, impressive hunting skills, killing easy to kill, not at all dangerous animals and no fishing. That's a very interesting side point there, isn't it, Meki?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
that time frame of 150 to 60,000 years ago is also what is dated in the Sumerian text as the starting point of their mining expedition. Thinking about that. Yeah. 140,000 years ago, diaspora of Neanderthals and modern humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, possibly. First domestication of large mammal, the dog. 94,000 to 12,000 years ago, prehistoric hobbit. Now, I'm sorry, Meki, I took this one because you love the hobbit. A little over 3 feet tall, a distinct humanoid species, Homo florensis. People flourished in Flores from 94,000 to 12,000 years ago when a volcano killed them off. They apparently hunted dwarf elephants with spears.
Of course, they wouldn't have been dwarf elephants for them. Now, 80,000 years ago, oldest intentional burial by archaic Homo sapiens in Africa that we have found. 70,000 years ago, catastrophic volcanic eruption. Volcanic winter tied to rapid genetic divergence in humans. Did it kill off most hominids? It's possible. It's possible that our variation changed at that point. 60,000 to 40,000 years ago, genetic Adam, or Y chromosomal Adam, the most recent common male ancestor of all living humans from Y chromosome dating. We'll get into that later. Why the different date from the mitochondrial DNA? Was there a male bottleneck at this point? An interesting question. If you think about bottlenecks, you'd think it to affect both sexes the same way. Clearly, not the case. 60 to 40,000 years ago, the Great Leap Forward. It's the anthropological Big Bang of human expression among Homo sapiens sapiens, which is us. First standardized stone tools, first jewelry, first painting, timing of innovation coincides with first appearance of modern humans, Homo sapiens sapiens. Cause of innovation unknown. Could be due to increase in brain size. Some say vocal box became well developed, most likely first took place among one group of humans in Africa. Official story. Now, that's the official timeline and so forth and all that. We have had artifacts, even art, if you will, that dates back much further than that, but doesn't fit at all into the neat timeline. Is in fact completely out of whack with that. You know, if you remember some of the artifacts we discussed, which go back hundreds of millions of years. Dave.
Yes. 60,000 years ago, a diaspora of humans reaches China via Southeast Asia. Dog and wolf become distinct. 50,000 years ago, human population 1.2 million hunter-gatherers. And this is the Homo sapiens sapiens. And also at 50,000 years ago, first human settlement in the Americas, according to evidence found at a South Carolina site. If true, beats the oldest accepted date by 35,000 years. Did they come by sea from Africa or Europe? Becky?
45,000 years ago, the humans begin to enter southwestern Europe. Some 6% of Europeans are descended from the continent's first founders, who entered Europe from the Near East. These people are modern Basque and Scandinavians. Skeletons are fully modern. Tools of bone, fishhooks, engraving tools, needles, multi-piece tools, harpoons, spear throwers, bows, and arrows to catch large, difficult animals, nets, lines, and snares for fishing. First art, cave painting, statues, and musical instruments. 40 to 35,000 years ago. Within a few thousand years, Neanderthals disappear, likely due to modern humans, the Cro-Magnon people. Now, the Cro-Magnon people, I know that popular culture puts them as, like the troglodyte, hairy, troglodytes, cave dwellers, but they were not. In fact, they were taller and better looking than most of us, the Cro-Magnons, okay? And they had superior weapons and culture to the Neanderthals, right? Now how? Superior technology and language skills used to infect, kill, or displace Neanderthals, potentially. And no hybridization of humans and Neanderthals. The Neanderthal brain was in fact bigger than Cro-Magnon, but clearly that did not save them. Clearly Cro-Magnon was probably a lot more warlike. I mean, we can only assume, because they survived the conflict and Neanderthal did not. Whereas Neanderthal had been quite successful for tens of thousands of years, and modern humans were relative newcomers, but potentially a lot more aggressive and potentially better weapons. From here on in, it's really only Homo sapiens sapiens we're talking about, the modern humans. And 40,000 years ago, more old evidence of humans in the Americas, ancient footprints that were found in Mexico, for example. If true, this beats the oldest previously accepted evidence of humans in the Americas by some 25,000 years, Dave.
That's right. 40 to 30,000 years ago, the Big Bang of artistic expression. This is the second Big Bang of the human species. According to most paleoanthropologists, sophisticated works of art first appear in the fossil record. Greater than or equal to an earlier date set at around about 60 to 40,000 years ago. 40 to 30,000 years ago, same time, boats appear. Humans from Eurasia sail to Australia, New Guinea, maybe a single landmass at the time due to lower sea levels, had to sail to places that could not be seen on the horizon, which means they needed maps and charts and be able to have predicted the stars' movements and possibly worked the curvature of the Earth. Take that, flat earthers. Had to purposeful colonization, or accidental, who knows. Watercraft won't appear elsewhere until about, let's say, 11,000 or 13,000 years ago in the Mediterranean. So that's very interesting that it seems to be in Eurasia, Meki, that boats appear first. Right? And the last one in my group here, which is 40 to 35,000 years ago. It's only a 5,000 year difference between the two of them. First mass extinction of large mammals caused by humans. Guess where? In Australia and New Guinea. Giant kangaroos, rhino-like marsupials and marsupial leopard, though it was tame, unused to humans, not afraid of them, killed off or indirectly eliminated during the first few thousand years of human settlement. Now it was called megafauna, and in Australia we had the megafauna, and it was obviously delicious, stupid and delicious. And we had a lot of very hungry people needing to get fed, and they had not considered the life cycle of the creature, and sustainability wasn't in their vocabulary.
Not really. There was no EPA at that time. 30 to 20,000 years ago, the ancestors of another 80% of modern Europeans arrived in Europe 30 to 20,000 years ago, before the peak of the last glaciation. 10,000 years ago, when the Ice Age ended and agriculture was first introduced to Europe from the Near East. 30,000 years ago, the earliest figurines are found in a German cave. 3 small ivory carvings found at Hohlefeld, which means really just hollow. Skill among craftspeople living between 30 and 35,000 years. So now, I want you to just pause for a second. Sorry, I need to do this. We're talking about massive swathes of time here. 5,000 years is most of our recorded history, guys. That's most of our recorded history. And we saw like this happened like, you know, between 30,000 and 35,000 years ago. Sure, yeah. It is astounding that we make these generalizations. I mean, we have no clue. I mean, I want to be honest with you. We have no clue what happened. We've got a couple of things that we find here, there, and everywhere. And as we will learn later in the show, we constantly have to push the timelines back. because we find more stuff, we find more evidence, and we just don't know. We have no clue. We saw it, we say there were cave dwellers, there was cave paintings, we find things in caves. Yeah, because that's where it would survive. Okay, if you leave it out in the open, if you have a city, even if you have a city, okay, and it's built out of stone and whatever, the most durable material, right? In 10,000 years, that city is gone. Stuff that you had in that city is gone. If you put things into a cave, I mean, okay, I'll ask you this. How often do you guys go to a cave today? I mean, in your spare time. Unless you're a speleologist, okay? Hardly ever, is my guess. Even if you're a bushwalker or you like the outdoors or you go camping, you don't go to very many caves a lot. Some people might. And I guarantee you that if somebody left something in a cave, maybe even quite inaccessible somewhere, it will be there in 1,000 years. It'll be there in 10,000 years. So we assume, because we find all this stuff in caves, we assume that all the peoples at that time lived in caves. I think that is a wrong assumption. I'm sure they used caves. Sure. Why not? It's there. But we can't make a generalization and say, hey, clearly all people lived in caves then. Because today we've got people still living in the traditional ways. Some of the Aborigines, not very many. Some people in the Amazon, some people in Africa, not very many. Some people in Papua New Guinea, specifically, not very many, but still some are living still the way they would have lived 10 or 20,000 years ago, with some modifications.
So, Mekki, I want to inject here. So, imagine if you built, I don't know, like stone huts. You built stone huts. You're near the ocean. You're in a floodplain valley, on the valley floor, near fresh water, like a creek or something. And there is a large meteor impact somewhere else on the globe, but it's significant enough to give us a nuclear winter, and we end up with let's call it the ball of ice Earth, or ice ball Earth, or you get like a mile-high glacier where you are as a result of this. Most people in your area are wiped out. Only very few people on the equator possibly will be able to live because of maybe there's a warm spring and it seems to have local melt, and they can survive there and as a food source. Whatever there was where you built your stone huts in a glacier just get ground off at the ground level and pushed into the sea.
That's right.
Everything is ground off. Yep. Even our major cities right now, built of concrete and everything. Even imagine LA with 2 miles of ice above it just gets ground off. And the next people that come around will go, wow, we found all these really flat, concrete. They're not concrete, but they're concrete to us. But to them, these flat stone areas, because they haven't invented concrete yet. They'll name the rock as being some kind of new kind of rock they've found, but it's everywhere. They won't have any clue how we made it until they make it themselves. So this is the big problem that we have when we talk about it. Everything out in the open, just like Mekki said, and I completely agree with you, is gone.
Yep.
If it was painted on wooden huts, it's gone. Right?
That's right.
It's gone.
It's written in the wind. That's right. You might as well try to write it in the wind. Look, or have a snow sculpture in summer. It just disappears. It's gone. It's true, right?
They had a huge snowman painting culture. Huge.
Yes, that's what they're massive. In the universe, the largest.
It was. Visitors from all around the universe came to witness what the people from these days used to do. We can't see it. It's gone. No. We can only presume around what we've found, and only the most courageous people who decided to, go under the sea, to find a cave and swim up into that, like in France. And then, take all their paints with them, of course, underwater, and then emerge inside a cave and paint it. They're the only ones we've found.
Yeah. But you know what the funny thing is about those cave paintings, which are about 20, 30,000 years old, right? The amazing thing is how modern they look. So we've got paintings here which deal with perspective, but also with proportion. So when you look at the animals and the humans, they're drawn proportionally with fairly modern-looking clothing as well. So it is not these are not the first scratching of a developing people. These are people which have a fairly sophisticated sense of art. Okay, so and again, it needs to be understood that most of us could not paint like this. Okay, so I will give you a challenge. I'll tell you what, I'll give you $10,000. Unless you're an artist, then it's not fair. You have to be a regular Joe or Jane has to go out there in a cave and paint like those guys did. And I say good luck to you, because you can't. You know, unless you're talented and trained, you will not be able to equal those cave paintings in their sophistication.
By the way, we don't have $10,000 to give away, so it's not a bet.
Yes, we do. Dave will send it through. But no,
I didn't agree with that.
No, but my point is that most of us wouldn't have the skill to do it, right? And we like to think of ourselves as very sophisticated and educated. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we couldn't do if we were thrown into a situation like that. Okay, I want you to bear that in mind. The next point in my group is the 30 to 20,000 years ago. It's called the Vela supernova. Vela supernova. Excuse me. And I love how this timeline includes. Yeah, this timeline is really good. That's why we chose it. There's of course the link to it, which we'll share. Now the Vela supernova at maximum light would have outshone the full moon. The radiation from this event would have affected humans worldwide. About 1,300 light years away, the Vela is more than 3 times closer to Earth than the next nearest human-era supernova event, which occurred in AD 1016. More than 5 times closer than the Crab eruption, the third closest, in AD 1054. So there were 2 events in recorded history. This one was 3 times closer than the closest of those, which is pretty close, by the way. Dave?
It's an event just like that would possibly have cooked the Earth and all its forests to create all the coal on the planet.
Yep.
A gamma ray burst would completely cook that side of the planet exposed to it. Just think about that. So I know the one that was in 1016 was recorded by the Chinese quite extensively, and they said that it didn't outshine the sun, but it was this close to as close as the sun was bright, but lasted for about a week.
Yep.
So that's something else. In 30,000 years ago, oldest star map depicting Orion the Hunter in Acht Valley, Germany. Oldest coal mine, Landeck, Czechoslovakia. And the oldest necklace, Mundu Mundu, in Australia.
Sorry, 1 second there. The oldest coal mine, 30,000 years ago, people mined for coal. Why? They didn't, according to science, Dave, and all the experts, people didn't smelt metals at that point. We're not even in the Bronze Age yet.
That's true.
Okay, we're talking stone tools. Why on earth? And first of all, how do you know there's coal? I mean, how do you know that you can mine for it? Number one. Number two, what would you use it for? I mean, if it's just a fuel, there's a lot easier fuel to get, like wood. Hey, let's just pick up some wood. That's a good idea. Coal, because it has such a long burning time as well as such a high heat, is really very good for industry. Like for us, it's a good thing. Like it is what fueled the Industrial Revolution for us. Coal still does.
That's true. Yep.
For people living 30,000 years ago, it would not have been the fuel of choice. Do you know what the fuel of choice is in normal society? Cow dung, or wood, kindling, yeah, things like that, reeds. That's the fuel of choice. Now, I find this extremely interesting, Dave. Why would you have a coal mine?
Well, you know what's really weird about that is maybe they didn't burn it. Maybe their coal mine was to build it, use it as a building material.
Maybe.
Yeah, we might learn that in 29,000 years ago there was a huge fire that went through Germany, destroyed all the housing because it was made of coal. I don't know.
That's right.
It took a long time to put out. That's really funny. So 28,000 years ago, art depicting dangerous animals. That's interesting. As a warning, like mammoths, rhinos, and bears in a cave at Arcy-sur-Cour in France. And the last
You're really making...
My accent's awesome, isn't it?
That's the best. Awesome. Yep.
20,000 years ago, earliest art of shamanic influence, which is spiritual, possibly. Becky.
Yes, sir. 27,000. 20,000. Sorry, I thought you were going on. 27,000 years ago, the first weaving in the Czech Republic of the Gravettian people who roamed between southern Russia and Spain between 22 and 29,000 years ago, scratching out a living on a semi-frozen landscape. If you're scratching out a living, you wouldn't be weaving because you need a loom. You need a loom or some kind of loom-like thing so you can weave. So I would not say that. Anyway, it's all good. 25,000 years ago, the first religious relics and altars are found in Spain. Now, if you ignore the Neanderthals and what they did, that's true, because Neanderthals also put objects into the graves of the people they buried, usually bear skulls and red paint. So they had a lot of red paint they would bury people with, which is very interesting. This goes well beyond 25,000 years ago. 20,000 years ago. Red oak, yeah, exactly. Yep, that's exactly what that is. Expansion of people into cold Siberia, Eastern Eurasia. Needles for sewing necessary to make warm clothes. Yes, that's true.
I sue you.
I sue you too. 18,000 years ago. And this is interesting, guys. Listen very carefully. The glacial maximum of the last ice age. Meaning, at this point, the glaciers were at their greatest expansion and greatest height. 18,000 years ago. Sea levels, we estimate, were 120 meters below the present sea level because all the water was obviously captured in the glaciers. So, again,
wait, Mickey.
Sea levels, 120 meters. Yep,
yeah, let's focus on that for a second, right? So 120 meters from right now.
Yep.
So we're living in the hills.
Yes, we are, sir.
We're living in the hills above where those people lived. So they lived down 120 meters below sea level currently where the old creeks and the old rivers were, because they didn't bother, why would they live up where we live? That's just too far to walk.
Yep.
Bugger that, 120 meters, I'm not walking that far. I'm gonna live next to the creek, because that creek's got fresh drinking water.
Bingo. And in fact, if you look at the Earth, I'm just opening up Google Maps here on my computer. I ask you guys to do the same at home. If you look at the Earth, go to the actually, I'm opening up on Narara. How cool is that? It's opening up on your. So it must be picking it up from Skype. Skype is picking up your address because obviously we're connecting via your Skype connection to the show. That's fascinating stuff, isn't it? How about that? Can't get away from technology.
They can't get away from Big Brother, let's say that.
No.
Hi, NSA buddies, whoever you are.
You cannot, my friend.
Handlers.
Now, I'm on,
Google.
actually. Now, so if you choose the satellite image, you will find that a lot of the continents, a lot of the areas around water and so forth, actually have a little bit of lower depth around the coast, right? And then it falls off quite deeply into the oceans. Now, all of that area around the continents, around the rivers and the oceans and the seas, that would have been land we lived on, all of it. Because 120 meters is a lot. 120 meters, guys. That's a distance that is. I mean, these days, if we had another 120 meters inundating us, there wouldn't be much left of our civilization. If the sea levels rose by 120 meters, in fact, there would be hardly anything left, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Completely.
Right. So just bear that in mind. it's important to realize, because we are looking in all the wrong places. Okay, we're looking at all the wrong places, and we're not really finding the things that we could be finding. Because again, we're looking in the wrong places. Everything we're finding is a complete fluke. A complete fluke. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we found some small ivory carvings 30,000 years ago in a cave. These were the only carvings ever. I mean, okay, we're honest enough to say these were the earliest ones that we found. I guarantee you, if those 3 existed, there were thousands more, probably earlier as well. Thousands more, guaranteed. Guaranteed. But these are the only ones that we've found, because we're looking in all the wrong places. We ignore the evidence, Dave. Remember the Japanese monuments that were found off the coast of Japan, I think in the south?
That's right.
And people say, that's all nonsense. That's nothing. That's complete nonsense. Yeah, sure it is. Anyway, let's keep going with this. Oldest star map, oldest art, first weaving, first religion. Oh yes, and then it's you, my friend. All dates are now before the Common Era. From here on in, guys, all dates are before Common Era. Dave, 12,000 to 11,000, I think.
Okay, so this is the special part of the timeline. Now, this timeline, you have to also have in your mind, park this in your mind right now, that this is around about as far back as a large meteor impact was about to occur off Madagascar, between Australia and Madagascar, and cause the global flooding. Okay, so think about that. So 12 to 11,000 years ago, rapid settlement of the first North and South, and then South America, which is the accepted date so far. But people could have been in the Americas at least 50 to 40,000 years ago, according to some evidence. Some evidence. That's very funny, isn't it, Mekki? It could be up to 150,000 years ago, according to ignored evidence. That's people walk from Siberia to the Bering Land Bridge, exposed during that time, because remember, 120 meters of sea level drop below where it is today. Whole of Americas has 10 million hunter-gatherers. They're very hungry hunter-gatherers too, and those mammoths are delicious. Like in New Zealand and New Guinea, the first human appearance coincides with mass extinction of large mammals, elephants, horses, lions, cheetahs, camels, and large ground sloths. They're obviously very, very delicious. It's like the KFC of deliciousness. Made that bit up. Mass extinction leaves humans in the... Because there was no brand KFC back then. Can you imagine if they opened up a franchise immediately upon getting there? You know, you could actually start a business. Could have... The Industrial Revolution could have started way sooner. Mass extinction leaves humans in the Americas with no large mammals to domesticate. They ate them all. Or share disease immunity with. Bugger. Let's do these one by one.
Sure. 11,000 to 9,000 years ago, the Ain Malaha, one of the first settled villages known anywhere. Well, I think Göbekli Tepe is now older. Anyway, yeah, but they say it was a religious site, not a settlement, sure. On a hillside by a spring, it was overlooking a swampy bottom of Upper Jordan Valley, 3 successive permanent villages, each with several round houses, 3 to 8 meters in diameter, which are very reminiscent of the round houses found in Africa by our good friend Michael Tellinger, that's the one. Thank you, sir. And now they're close together around a central open space with storage pits, so obviously, you know, a very communal kind of setup, which is good. At 11 to 9,000 BC, one of the first settled villages known anywhere, and the population was estimated at around 200 to 300 people. Somewhat wetter and greener environment than today. Of course, the climate has changed. What a shock. And in fact, the resources were assumed to be so rich that hunting and a foraging lifestyle would have encouraged a relatively permanent settlement, Dave.
10,500 to 9,000 years ago, Hurea in the middle Euphrates Valley, a permanent hunter-gatherer base camp exploiting gazelle migrations. Of course, that's what you do. If your food walked past you every year, so maybe twice a year, there you go. There's your food problem sorted.
That's it. Me. Very good. 10,000 years ago. A human settlement in the Near East, confined to the Levant, which is the easternmost Mediterranean shoreline, and to the Zagros Mountains of Iran and Iraq and their western foothills. Some locations, like the Jordan Valley and the Middle Euphrates Valley, are more densely populated, often by large hunter-gatherer communities located at the margins of several ecological zones.
10,000 years to present. Legends and myths from the ancient past of a rare and mysterious humanoid race sharing Earth with mankind continue to endure. With the help of periodic reports of sightings and bits of intriguing but inconclusive evidence for the matter, and I think we're talking about, Mekki,
the Anunnaki, of course.
No, not the Anunnaki.
I am.
Yeah, well, you are. But that appears to me to be it's a humanoid race.
Yeah, the Yetis.
Yeah,
no, Yetis. Yetis, Sasquatch, and Bigfoot. No, you're right. Correct.
That's what.
Now, the reason I brought the Anunnaki, and it is the reason I brought the Anunnaki up is because it's also that time frame we can put the most fertile legends of the Anunnaki's first appearance in our more or less written records. But you're right. It is still quite likely that we're sharing, like we said at the beginning of the show, and like Lloyd Pye said, we still could share this planet with the actual owners, Yeti, Sasquatch, Bigfoot. We are merely interlopers, potentially placed here for some reason. The Sahara, 9,000 to 4,000 years ago, was more humid, held numerous lakes, and teemed with wild animals. In fact, the Sahara is expanding, but it was not always as desertified as it is now. It was a lot smaller. During this period, Saharans began to tend cattle and make pottery, then to keep sheep and goats, and they also may have been starting to domesticate sorghum and millet. Now, just on that, forget about what's buried in the water, or which is now inundated. Think about the things that could have been covered by ice as well as sand. And certainly we know that the jungle overgrows a lot of things, but just the sand itself, we have no idea what's underneath the sands of the Sahara. All we know is that the Sahara has not always been as big as it is today. So we know that people lived there, and it was quite fertile at some point. Okay, now just imagine that, and topographical photography doesn't really work because the sand is fairly good at covering that up. It works much better if there's vegetation, like in an example of Cambodia, where you've got Angkor Wat. And now that we've taken massive aerial pictures of Angkor Wat and the surrounding complex, we know it was huge. Not just Angkor Wat itself, but there was like a whole construction around it, which is quite enormous. But it was only found once we had taken aerial photographs of the area, and then we could see the regular structures. Go ahead, Dave.
Where are we at again? This is 8,500?
850. That's it, yep.
All right, so 8,500 years ago, first farmers, agriculture, domestication of wheat, pea, olive, and sheep in Southwest Asia. A new settlement appears on the same site as Abu Hurairah. That'll do. Yes, that'll do. This time, a permanent village of rectangular mud brick houses connected by narrow alleyways. At first, the inhabitants hunt gazelle intensively. Later, cereals quickly become important in just a few centuries, maybe. Although wild foods remain important for about 2,500 years. Now, just on that Angkor Wat thing, you have to consider Angkor Wat could support, they've estimated, just like the Mayan cities, around about 1.5 million people.
Yeah.
Could have been supported by the size of those the cities, like around, farming on the outside, sort of, manufacturing in the middle. Then in the center you have your city-styled, markets and trade. Angkor Wat was the first to artificially create water wells. These were square or rectangular, deep catchments for drinking water. I mean, that's extraordinary. This was a very highly sophisticated town, and it's all hidden in Cambodia when that wasn't split up amongst the different countries. And that's also the place where there's a glyph of a Stegosaurus at Angkor Wat. So as part of Meki's opening phrase, when we're talking about possibly, at the top of this hour, possibly not all the dinosaurs are wiped out, this is one of those places in Angkor Wat where if they had no clue what they look like, but there they are, they've drawn one, it's possible that they were still alive there in around the equatorial region where they didn't die out because of the massive impact. I mean, humans were clearly alive and well there, and who knows? Who knows?
Yep.
Now, the possibilities are endless.
I completely agree. Absolutely. Which brings us to 8,000 years ago, end of the last ice age. In fact, 12,000 to about 8,000 years ago. And this is really a critical time for our civilization, because as far as we can tell, that's where it all points to, right? This is where the great extinction myths come from, the legend of Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu. This is where we think the last great civilization abruptly ended. And that's what we think. There might have been a meteorite impact in, like David said, near Madagascar, which of course then led to the great melting event, which accounts for part of the flood myth. Because if you change the temperature, right, in the atmosphere, the glaciers melt. If the glaciers melt, these massive glacial lakes break. So first of all, you've got the tsunamis that would have been caused by the impact, which is a flood event. Then you would have had the massive rain because of all the displaced water in the atmosphere. But then you had the warming, which would have led to all the glaciers melting. So, the waters of the deep in the Bible, in fact, it says the waters of the deep rose. It was rain and the waters of the deep. So it was flooding from above and below, if you will, which makes perfect sense if you think of it as a meteorite impact at the end of the last ice age. It's in fact, the meteorite impact, heralded in the end of the ice age, right? That's really what happened. Otherwise, it might still be here. So, and also, again, like when we discussed the flood myths, it was speaking about a rain of water and fire, if you recall. Now, previously connected land masses become separated by rising sea levels. For example, Greater Australia is now split into Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania. Greater Eurasia America is split into Eurasia, the Americas, Indonesia, Borneo, and Taiwan. Ancestral memory of this dividing of Eurasia America into two separate landmasses may have been preserved in later writings, such as the Bible and so forth, the flood myths and all that stuff. So not much time left. But so we're going to probably pause it at the 8,000 year mark, because now we're getting into the more recorded history. But there's still a lot of mysteries here, of course, a lot of mysteries now. We're entering now the mysteries of food production and domestication, as well as agriculture. And we have no good answers for any of these. Because the thing is this, why do domestication, okay, I get it, right? I mean, why not? That makes perfect sense. Agriculture, if you're a nomadic people, why on earth would you start agriculture? In fact, agriculture, like I've said before, and I'll maintain, agriculture is the answer to the question of cities. City? Agriculture. Ah, thank you. So somebody wanted to build cities, but you can't have cities without agriculture, okay? You cannot. It can't be done. It cannot be done. You must have some kind of a steady food source, especially if we're talking about big cities. If it's just a small settlement, it doesn't matter. A hunter-gatherer lifestyle for a few hundred people, even a few. Yep.
You're talking about creating excess food.
Yes.
That's what agriculture is on massive scales. It's creating more food than you need. You only need like, I don't know, like a millionth of your output for yourself, and the rest of it
that's
is
exactly
traded
right.
up.
Exactly. Yep. 100% correct. 100% correct. And that's really the king. This is really the key here, right? And you can't have that with hunter-gatherers. It's just not feasible. Not for tens or hundreds of thousands of people. Not possible. But why cities? Why do you need